The WordPress site editor has a really great navigation out of the box when it comes to accessibility and multi-level navigation. So really quickly, what am I talking about when I say multi-level navigation? It's basically when you have your navigation items that are visible, and then when you hover over something, more links show up underneath it. When you have that multi-level navigation, it's important to allow someone who doesn't use a mouse to tab through those top level items without having to go through every single link in your navigation unless they actually want to. And typically, and the way that WordPress handles this is to have that top level link and then the toggle button next to it. And this way it'll open on hover, but it'll wait for an interaction for non-mouse users. This works great for most situations, but one of the things we want to try to avoid is repetitive links. Ideally, you'll have a top level page that's different from the pages under it. You'll have a main services page and then individual services linked underneath that. But that's just not always the case. Sometimes there isn't a need for that top level page, so someone will put maybe an empty link or a hashtag, or, whether it's true or not, I don't actually know, but there's often a belief that people aren't going to click on that top level navigation if there's a subnav. So they'll repeat the link, maybe they'll make it the same link but with different text, which is a different issue. We want links that go to the same place to have the same text. Now, when it comes to the accessibility guidelines, redundant links tend to apply most often when you have multiple links going to the same place within your content, like a blog feed that might link the image, the title, and the read more button. And then you end up having 3 links for each post. Sometimes it can apply to a page that has the same link a ton of times throughout the page, or a list of links in your content that has the same link multiple times, or your footer, or even like we're talking about your navigation that have multiple items going to the same place. Now, these are all different situations with different solutions. And so while we may not be talking about a clear WCAG violation, we are talking about user experience and making things as pleasant to use as possible. And so one of the things that's lacking in the built-in core WordPress navigation at the moment is having just a button as the top level item instead of having to fill in that link. It's deceiving when you're using a mouse because it all just seems like a link. You hover over something and more things open up and you click around, but you need to have a link go somewhere and a button to open the nav, and you have to have both of those things. You can't have one element that does both. So what happens when we don't want to have a link that goes somewhere in the top level navigation? Now, of course, the best way to address this in a header nav is to avoid a multi-level navigation, especially if it's something that you think might be confusing. Most of the time, for a vast majority of sites, these sub-navigations aren't necessary. The less that you have at the top of your page, the easier it's going to be for people to understand the best way to navigate around your site. Put links where they make sense. If you decide, you know what, I do want this multi-level navigation, then you're going to want to try to arrange your pages and your content so that it makes sense. Create a top level page so that if someone does click on it, they are expecting to go somewhere, and then they go to a page and then they can navigate from there. You're grouping the pages with similar pages and using that top level nav item as a way to guide someone to those pages under it. Another thing that I've seen done is maybe for that second link that goes to the same page, link it to a specific section within that page. So it's got a purpose beyond in case someone doesn't click on the top link. You're at least helping someone find what they're looking for. The links do go to separate places, and then therefore you can have separate text for each of those. We're basically trying to avoid not having a link as the top level item. There is technically a way to hide redundant links. But in a navigation, you're adding this unnecessary markup to these extra links. And if somebody is still a visual user, just not using a mouse, you're skipping over something that looks like it should be tabbable. And so we're trying to avoid having to add this extra code or ARIA whenever we can. So if and until this is something that gets fixed in core, what I've done is written up a really simple script that can be added to a theme or a code plugin to turn top level links that include a hashtag as the link into a button. It's giving a consistent experience for the most amount of users, and it's something that's still accessible if someone doesn't use JavaScript on their site. It's something that would fail gracefully. We're utilizing the markup that's already there and making some minor adjustments so that we're not messing with anything more than we have to. So taking a look at the code, we're first going to grab our navigation items. And for each of the nav items, if it's a link with a button next to it, that means it's one of our menu items that has a subnav. Then if it's also got a hashtag as the link, that means it's one of our empty navigation items with a subnav that we need to address. We then grab the link text, wrap it in a span, add a class to our button, and then insert our new span wrapped text into the button. Then we're going to make sure we remove the link. It's a fairly straightforward piece of JavaScript, but we are using classes generated by WordPress. So this is something that could potentially need to be updated in the future if Core modifies the markup or changes the links. So as always, you're going to want to test your updates if you have any concerns about compatibility, and then making sure to periodically check anything you've added custom code for. This is also something intended for the core navigation block. So a site using a different builder or solution or type of WordPress setup is going to probably need to adjust their method a little bit. I will link to a Beaver builder specific solution I found in the video description. I haven't tested it, but it seems pretty comprehensive, and it does list what we're talking about as one of the features of the script. If you have any other specific solutions for other builders, or if you found this helpful, let me know, and check out the description for links to things that I've referenced in this video, including a link to the script. And if you want to keep learning about hands-on ways to make your websites more accessible, check out the weekly accessibility course linked below as well.